So here's my question: if it doesn't like fire and blood, how do you use fire with blood? You just burn the blood samples?
What happened is that they had the blood on the petri dish and they put a torch near it, and if it exploded because it reacted badly to the thing, you knew that the alien was in it. We are indeed still in the spookiest of seasons, as you are aware. And in the last episode, we did a little adventure hook that you can use in adventure games, your TTRPGs, that was based around campfire ghost stories.
Ooh. Also, if you haven't watched that one, go watch it.
Go watch it. Why, are you afraid? You afraid? You should be.
Afraid the ghosts are gonna get you.
They are.
They're gonna get you.
There's a guy with a hook, and he was a Scooby-Doo monster the whole time. Anyway, this week, though, I wanted to give you a different kind of adventure hook to expand upon, which is based on a movie. A movie you have not seen.
Yes, all movies that I have not seen.
You've never watched
I've not seen movies.
You've never watched a single movie. You're gonna be
Not
that.
one.
You're gonna be that that meme, that famous tweet of guy who's only seen one movie, which was Boss Baby, seeing his second movie. I'm getting a lot of Boss Baby vibes here. You're gonna be that dude. Anyway, so the movie that I wanted to talk about was The Thing. Not the new prequel one that they did, but the John Carpenter one from back in the 80s. And I wanted to talk about that because I think that it has some really interesting framework, structure, that could be used for an adventure game. So let me just give you the basic concept of the movie. You have this team that is kind of cut off from civilization. They're at a research station. It's barren. There's like no one else around as far as they can see. There might be other research teams. You find out that there was one, but it's not easy to get around. Snowstorms come in frequently. Getting around and traveling is very hard. So you're at this research base, and it's a bunch of these guys, and they have dogs that they can use. A snow dog runs into the camp from like the other camp. Doesn't really understand why, but we'll go and check that out later, I guess. But right now, let's put you in the kennel. As you start to realize throughout the course of the movie, this dog has been infected with essentially an alien parasite that can infest creatures and then take on their appearance. And there's very little way to understand how you are infected until it's too late, and you might not even know you're infected.
Okay.
The movie goes through stages, basically, where the team is trying to, A, figure out how to identify what this alien virus is, where it came from, what it is, and then also how to determine who has it, and the mechanisms of determining if you are infected with the virus in the first place.
And what to do if you are infected?
And, well, that would likely be the third question they would have asked if they had time. By the end of the movie, to spoil like a 40-year-old movie, but no one essentially makes it out of this. just so that you're aware.
So what you're saying is our adventure hook is the party's gonna fucking die.
The party is going to essentially die. So here's what I wanted to set up. We'll take the general idea. It doesn't even have to be a snowy town, but that your party winds up at a small town that is just out in the middle of nowhere. There's no
Sure.
real major towns or any settlements or anything. It's just kind of like out there in the boondocks. You're in the Wild West, practically.
Yeah, they're exploring and they come across a small town.
Right, exactly.
They're weeks away from anywhere worthwhile.
Exactly. And so they get into this town, and something just seems a little off. And they can't really pinpoint what it is. But some of the people in town seem like they're really on edge, like they're on guard, and they don't trust people coming into the town. They don't trust new faces, they don't know you, and they seem a little bit paranoid by the idea that you're there. And so the investigation is that some of the townspeople have encountered some sort of plague that they can't identify, and there's nobody in town that was like an apothecary or an alchemist or anything that could research it, because they didn't think that this would ever happen. They don't know where it came from. They don't know how to figure out who even has it, because they can walk among you. And so they're now paranoid about this. And now you're a bunch of new faces, they don't know who you are, and they don't know if this plague has come from outside of town. They can only imagine that it did, and you might be from that place. And now you're highly equipped, very powerful adventurers that could do a lot more damage than your average citizen if you are infected with it. So you've now walked in essentially on a town that you can't just walk away from, because it's a long trek out if you ever want to go anywhere, that is absolutely paranoid about it. And then there are also folks that are in the town who are probably like the town guards, who also don't want you to leave. Because if you are infected with this plague, then you go to another town and you could spread it. So you're kind of locked in this place, having to deal with a paranoid citizenry that doesn't even understand what's going on, but knows that something is very, very wrong and has taken a lot of its citizens away. So now your party is in the middle of this. So, what do we do? What does our party have to do? I mean, I'm hoping that somebody has some healing ability here, or some knowledge of alchemy, but if...
Well, some knowledge of something.
Yeah, medicine
or
something. They may
not be able to heal it, but, having some knowledge of...
Medicine would be good.
Health, medicine, biology.
Biology would be good. And depending on how you want to flavor it, maybe arcane knowledge, or religion, or spirituality, or something, because who knows what this could be. Even if it doesn't have anything to do with that, having people do checks that are related to that could be very useful, because it pinpoints what it's not.
Yeah.
What it's not.
Well, it's not natural. Cool. It's not arcane. Cool.
Is it supernatural? Is it, is it a spore? Like, can we determine if this is a virus, a bacteria, mycelia? Can we figure out if this affects certain people, if it affects certain characteristics, if this affects animals? Can we determine anything like that? Any information would be useful. I think even just basic investigation skills might be useful. But, like, what's the first thing that you would imagine adventurers would do when faced with this situation? Your typical adventure party comes into this situation. What would you imagine would be some of the first moves that they would try? To solve
murder?
This?
No.
Just kill everybody
Probably
off.
Investigation.
Yeah.
Probably some kind of investigation. Because you want to try and figure out symptoms or how to tell if someone's got it.
Yeah. I can tell you that it would probably be a smart idea to not have the answer to how to kill off this entity be fire, because they're just going to set the whole town on fire.
I mean, they're probably doing that anyways.
Yeah, that is probably the way that this resolves itself. But remember, you are trapped in this town.
Yeah.
Like,
I would want to have false leads as well. Maybe someone in town is sick, but it's not the virus. They've got a cold.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you have people that are like shut-ins. They don't want to go outside at all, and you think maybe it's because they actually have the plague to start with, but it's actually that they're just they don't want to get sick. They're trying to avoid everybody else, and they don't trust anybody else. So that's a misdirect that you can use. I like the idea that it could affect anything, like any biological entity.
It's affecting all the snails.
It's affecting the snails and the rats. I think that the rats would be interesting. I think it would be interesting if it affected the birds. If there's birds around town, because then that adds a whole new level of, like, how do we even contain this? I think that would be an interesting thing. If you find out that it can affect birds, do you then see all the townspeople shooting all the birds out of the sky because they're worried about, like, getting bird-demicked?
Birdemic.
Yeah.
Worried about all the bats.
Exactly. We're starting to make a trauma film now. This is great. That's great. I'm trying to think of other things that they might want to do. Like I said, this is a town, in my head at least, my headcanon, doesn't have, like, a healer or a medic or anything like that.
Yeah, assuming you've got, like, a cleric in the party, you could, like, purify food and drink and water and stuff like that.
Right, that might at least tell you if it's a foodborne illness or if it's a waterborne illness, something to that effect. So that could be helpful. But what would you want the actual culprit to be? This, like, in the thing, it was an alien entity, essentially, that had come to Earth. But
what do I want the
setting,
culprit to be? Clearly Mind Flayer tadpoles. We're going Baldur's Gate 3 on us.
Oh, okay, so we got Mind Flayer tadpoles in this. Okay, cool. So, what would the Mind Flayer tadpoles end up doing? Like, could you be a townsperson in this world and be infected with one of those Mind Flayer tadpoles, but not know it?
No, you know about that. We're not actually going to use that.
Oh, okay. Good.
I feel like it'd be maybe some spore, maybe,
Spores.
as a culprit. I mean, you would probably kill with fire or burn part of the town down or something.
Always burn the town
do you like
down.
the witch trials? It's mold.
It's mold, yeah, absolutely.
It's mold.
Yeah, if you wanted to do something historically relevant, then mold would make sense. I feel like that's gonna become a more common framing for a lot of, like, even zombie fiction into the future, is to take, like, mycelia and, like, fungus spores and to say that that's the culprit, because people, like, heard about the zombie fungus one time and cordyceps and was like, oh yeah, that's a good framing for it. In fact, that's what The Last of Us is based on.
I was going to say, that's what the whole Last of Us franchise is based on.
Yeah, exactly. So you could do that. The only thing is that it becomes pretty evident pretty quickly that you have that.
Yeah.
It doesn't take very long to figure out that that's the problem. So you would have to have something that's a little bit more subtle. And the interesting thing is, like, in the framing of the thing, sometimes the virus will then mutate your creatures if it's trying to infest other entities, but most of the time it's trying to keep under wraps and not reveal itself to stay hidden. But then,
so it's intelligent.
It has intelligence to it, yeah.
Okay.
Where it can understand where it is safe to, be out. Well, I guess actually there are subtle ways that it can, infest people, but you don't see it. Like, that's the whole mystery of the whole thing, is that these two characters are alone in a room for a while, but you don't see what happens there. So it's possible one of them had the infection and then spread it, like, into the other person that had it. And so but we don't know what happened when those two people that weren't in frame are there, until everybody gets into the testing area and they sit everybody down and they try to figure out who's actually the bad guys. The way they do it in the movie, so that you know, is that they do a blood test.
Okay.
And so they take a little bit of the blood from every person and they put it onto a tray, and they find that, ironically enough, even though I said I didn't want to do this in our adventure hook, it doesn't like fire, which is probably the reason why it's in Antarctica.
So here's my question: if it doesn't like fire, blood, how do you use fire with blood? You just burn the blood samples?
What happened is that they had the blood on the petri dish and they put a torch near it, and if it exploded, because it reacted badly to the thing, you knew that the alien was in it.
So here's the only problem with like a virus or something like that kills off its hosts in this manner, is that if all your hosts are dead,
you die too.
Doesn't the virus all die out?
Yeah, which is why the thing tries not to reveal itself, so that it has more opportunity to infest everybody else.
I guess the real question is, what's the end goal of this in the game? Like, what does this virus or organism intend to do?
It wants to multiply.
Sure,
like
but there's got to be an end goal, because if it's not going to affect me by having it, then...
it will take you over, because it's like it has to control. You have to do its bidding.
Okay, so it's just cordyceps. Yeah, got it.
It's essentially like that, but like an actual intelligent alien version or supernatural version of a cordyceps.
Okay,
in some way. I don't necessarily think that when you're talking about like plagues or viruses or anything like that, it has to have a real end goal to it. It just wants to survive as well as it possibly can. And so propagation inside of the entities that you have is the easiest way to do that. I did get the impression, and maybe this is something you'd want to use, is that it has a shelf life of how long it can stay inside of its hosts.
Okay.
Before the hosts die.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you'd want to do something with that in the game then.
Yeah, because it means that you have a constant hunger by the entity inside to try to get as far out as possible and keep reproducing over and over again. Before your hosts deteriorate and die. Out of curiosity, like I asked you on the last one, but is this the kind of thing that you'd want to subject your party to?
Maybe an altered version of it somehow, but like it really depends on what you're doing with the party. For a one shot, it could be really interesting because it's a deduction / not murder mystery, but a deduction mystery / oh no, we gotta cure the thing and we've only got like a week to do it, or else everybody in the town dies, or else it takes us all over and then we're unwilling, participants in this. For a one shot, that could be really cool. Campaign? Not really, maybe.
Yeah.
But given these are spooky adventure hooks, or kind of in that vein, one shots work pretty well for those, so.
Yeah, I think that it would be beneficial to not use established characters that you plan on playing long term, because I think it makes it more interesting for the players if they make a character specifically for this, and then realize that those characters are pretty expendable in terms of what's going to happen to them. That it's very likely that these characters are not making it out. So, so there is that. Biological, supernatural, magical. What kind of flavor do you want?
Probably supernatural is my guess. That's probably what I would use.
Yeah. So, like, do the thing, but maybe it's like a xenomorph, like an alien-style xenomorph. But
just something non-natural. It's got some kind of magical properties, but it's not... It's like, lycanthropy. Supernatural, technically. Or it's at least a disease, but it's like a supernatural disease. So you can go along those types of things, I think.
Yeah, viral lycanthropy.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Taken orally twice a day.
Yeah, exactly. Ask your doctor if viral lycanthropy is for you. Hey, if anyone out there has any other suggestions about how you could utilize this in the game, or if you think that this is a good way to do a one-shot, let us know in the comments down below.